Jinyo Force, assemble! Hey, it's me, Jinyo. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna react to a video made by Mother's Basement called The Haremist Anime. Obviously, we are doing this for research purposes only. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Mankind is defined by our drive to reach for more. Our history as a species is one of limits surpassed and
Oh shit, that's Orb. You gotta watch Orb if you haven't already. Fantastic show.
dreams manifested. Of men and women who heard it's impossible and said, I bet. And no anime genre embodies that attitude better than shonen sports stories. But no one's gonna click on a video about those, so today we're talking about harems again.
Why is everyone hating on shonen sports shows? I don't get the hate, man. I grew up with Captain Tsubasa. I grew up with Ganbare Kikazu. It's just one of the coolest shows growing up. I don't like the sports show slander. Yes, Blue Lock Season 2 was kind of a slideshow, but Season 1 was fantastic. Also, Hyakkyu and all the other shows, basketball, volleyball, they're great. They're great. Captain Tsubasa was remade in 2018, was fantastic.
The genre for people who think enough is never enough. Ever since Rumiko Takahashi accidentally invented it in the late 80s, mangaka, anime, and light novel writers alike have been locked in an endless arms race to craft bigger booba, better gags, deadlier tsundere, and above all else, more harem. Where 6 to 7 girls was once the high end for this sort of thing, that's basically the baseline in the isekai era, where we now routinely see harems in the double digits, with some pushing into the 20s, the 30s, and on various technicalities even further beyond. But even amid all that crazy competition, the 100 girlfriends who really love you set out to do something truly audacious. Give a guy 100 girlfriends who really love him, and more importantly, whom he and the audience can really love back.
But wouldn't it be a little bit too much because you want the character to end up with one of them, right? And if you have 100 contestants, isn't it gonna be very tough to ship the character with one of them? Because how much screen time does any one of the girls get? If it's 100 girls and one episode's like 20 minutes, like, or is one episode dedicated to one girl, so it's 100 episodes, and he's gonna choose an episode 101? How does that work?
Flimflammery. Just 100 honest to Kami-sama viable best girls. The haremist harem to ever harem. And today, with Season 2 finally underway, it's my aim to help you appreciate what a monumental feat that really is. But first, this video is sponsored by Rentaro Aijo's spiritual sister, Shoko Komi, a quiet girl with crippling social anxiety whose epic quest to make 100 regular friends in Komi Can't
video was sponsored
has
by an
finally
anime?
reached its long-awaited conclusion,
Or by
which
manga?
you can start reading right now on the Viz Manga
That's
app.
cool.
The absolute best bang for your buck entertainment value
Viz
in the
Manga.
entire anime-manga space at just $1.99 a month for over 10,000 chapters of all-time classics
Vegeta
like
reference.
Frieren,
I got that one.
100, Drifting Classroom, Nana, Ping Pong.
I gotta out myself as a tourist. Okay, hear me out. I rarely read the mangas of a show. I like to watch the anime unless I cannot wait for the next season to start. So if my curiosity gets piqued and I just cannot wait, I usually start reading the manga as well. I did that with Jujutsu Kaisen because I just couldn't wait. Jujutsu Kaisen was just hype, but just not enough episodes for me, so I had to start to read the manga. I did the same with Naruto, for example, when they were in the big ninja war in Naruto Shippuden, and it was just filler after filler after filler after filler. So at some point, I just lost my patience and just read the end of Naruto Shippuden through the manga. So, yeah, call me a tourist, I'm sorry. It's not like I do not enjoy reading the manga, but I just prefer anime.
Dorohedoro, pretty much every Junji Ito and Rumiko Takahashi thing ever made, and, of course, all 500 chapters of Komi Can't Communicate. With her hilarious journey reaching its final destination at 3 p.m. Pacific on January 28th, there's never been a better time to catch up with Komi. So don't delay. Download the Viz Manga app and get your 10,000 chapter library pass today. Or click the link in the doobly-doo to start reading Komi right away on Viz.com. Now, if I know the anime community, some of you already scrolled down to the comments in the middle of that ad to start typing up an epic, actually, about how 100 girlfriends isn't even that many, and lots of anime feature way bigger harems, which is correct, but only technically, and I'm no central bureaucrat, so that don't impress me. Kozuki Oden, for instance, is said to have collected a harem of over 100 ladies from across Wano in his errant youth, causing a minor revolt when all of their families, and in some cases...
Maybe the One Piece is a harem. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe at the end of Luffy's journey, he will be greeted by Gold Roger, because he's still alive. That was all a lie. And he will be on an island with 2,000 women. Maybe that's the One Piece. And only the king of the pirates is allowed entry.
His husbands came asking after them, but that's all very insignificant backstory detail that someone easily could have forgotten until it came time to, do some research for a harem dick measuring video. And One Piece obviously isn't a harem anime anyway, plus Oden isn't even a main character, so it would be pretty silly to count that. Now, World's End Harem obviously is a harem anime. It's right there in the title. And since its surviving male protagonists are intended to be breeding studs for effectively the entire remaining female population of post-dude-apocalyptic Earth, in theory, it should be the biggest harem of all time, no contest. But in practice, I
gotta say that is actually a pretty smart way to sell these harems, because it's just like, if it's get too many girlfriends, it's not really that realistic, right? Not that 50 girlfriends or 12 girlfriends is realistic, but if you're the only male in a post-apocalyptic world where there's only women, then it makes so much sense. Then you can have 2,000 women, 3,000 women, and it still makes sense. But usually when it's like the most generic looking protagonist, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, he's not even good at anything, but 50 women are into him, that's gonna be a little bit tough to sell, in my opinion.
Like 77 named women in the entire series, and each guy has like 5 to 10 at most that he spends 99% of his time with. So in reality, it's kind of just a regular-sized early 2000s harem with a very sticky asterisk.
They kissed
which isn't
too?
Nothing. Kotaro Shono clearly drew a lot.
Okay, honestly, I might have to watch some harem animes, because I thought they're just gonna blue ball you for 2 seasons or 3 seasons before we ever see a kiss. I mean, I appreciate that. That's not bad. Seeing some action is not bad.
A lot of different girls doing a lot of different stuff. And that does take a lot of work, especially one-handed. But nobody's out there typing up a Reddit dissertation on why Massage Lady number 3 is best girl, especially not one-handed. These are not waifus, just abnormally naked extras, and you'll see similar, if slightly less naked, attempts to pad the numbers like that in most other pretenders to this crown. Kenshi Masaki ends up having 3,000 girls vying for his hand in marriage by the end of Tenchi Muyo's mecha isekai spin-off War on Geminar, and a lot of them do appear on screen for at least a few frames, but it's a fucking 13-episode OVA. They barely got time to flesh out the dozen or so girls on the DVD cover. These are not real characters, they're just statistics. Each and every one of the over 700 spandex-clad beauties in Shadow Garden would doubtless be DTF with the Eminence in Shadow, given the opportunity, but could even the most hardcore fan of those light novels name more than a dozen or two? Yes. Their names are every letter of the Greek alphabet, then every number between 25 and how many of them there are. It's a very efficient system. But we don't even have wiki pages for all of those Greek letters yet. And canonically, Sid doesn't know that like 95% of them even exist. So, okay, if actually...
What is that show even about? It looked very futuristic. How's that? Like, is it a futuristic war harem?
Acknowledging and doing stuff with the individual girls is what matters, and Hiraku from Farming Life in Another World has canonically banged every elf and Oni lady living in his fantasy village, plus several civil servants, his wife, of course, his wife's cousin, and his 20 other
incest
wives. But some of those wives don't even have names. They're just like unnamed beastkin wife number 2. And even some of the ones that do are just the exact same fucking girl with a different haircut.
It's kind of like in One Piece where like every major female character is basically Nami with different hairstyles. I would love to interview one of the harem creators. Like, what did you think when you were coming up with the story? Why the 1,000 waifus instead of 500? Why do they all look alike? When did you decide the booba size? What kind of process do you go through when you think about those kind of characteristics?
Like, come on, man, try harder. Though, if you want to talk about copy-pasting girls to fill out a harem, the Raildex universe absolutely takes the cake. Depending on who you ask, there are anywhere between 12 and, it is taking all of my willpower not to use the Vegeta clip here, women who would probably bone Toma Kamijo given the chance, but 9,960 nice of them are just clones of one of the other girls with like a pseudo hive mind connection that peer-to-peer shares a crush that one of them has on him. Although apparently they're all at least somewhat unique individuals, so it's debatable whether all or even most of those clones actually feel that way about him. But then on the flip side, there's also a running meme in the fandom that every lady and gentleman that Toma's ever saved wants him on some level, which would be huge if true, because the supporting cast of this show seems massive and like very well defined, and like there's a lot of like low-key waifu and husbando tier characters in there, and I'm just over here trying to piece this shit together based on forum threads and wiki pages, because I really don't want to have to watch the entire One Piece of light novel adaptations just to defend the central thesis of my quick fun video about a 2-core long horny comedy anime. But also, I kind of do want to watch Raildex now after reading all that, because it seems pretty awesome, but I definitely ain't got time for it now, so I'm just gonna go with the 12 confirmed crushes slash stalker situations for the sake of my own sanity, while acknowledging that I have seen some people say it may be as high as like 30 or 40 distinct characters with some degree of feelings demonstrated for him, which is a really impressive number, don't get me wrong. But still, that's nowhere near 100, let alone 100 with confirmed relationship status. Though, that said, if you want to get technical, 100 girlfriends hasn't actually confirmed 100 girlfriends either, yet. As of the manga's current chapter, the harem count is stuck at 31, with the soulmate acquisition rate having slowed from 1 every 5 chapters to 1 every 9 or so, as the sheer size of the cast demands that
I want to know why they are into him. Like, is he super rich? Is he super handsome? Because he kind of looks like every other anime dude, right? But I would argue we are more handsome than this guy. So, where are my 100 VTuber girlfriends? Huh? I'm curious, is there like a specific reason? Did they use magic? Like, did he use magic on those girls? Why is it, like, what is it that makes them fall in love with them? Like, and this many at the same time.
Rentaro spend more time being a boyfriend and less time meeting new girlfriends. And by an astounding coincidence, that's the exact same size as the current record holder, by my extremely scientific estimation, for the largest non-inflated harem in anime. Mahara Girls Junior High Class 3A, most of whom have it down bad for their magic teacher Negi Springfield in Ken Akamatsu's shonen battle disguised as a harem manga, Negima. Don't worry, he's a child prodigy and all his students are way older than him, so it's not fine, but in the opposite direction than you thought it wouldn't be when you heard teacher-student harem, so there. And to be clear, depending on how strict your criteria are, only 10 to 20 of those 31 girls are actually love interests by the end of the series, but the pitch when the manga started was that all 30 of these girls designed by the Love Hina guy could be, and that all 30 of them would be fleshed out as meaningfully distinct characters and viable best girls by the end. Which
It sounds like a pain in the ass to draw. Like, if all of them have to look unique, all of them would have to behave in a unique way in the show, and you have to animate all of them individually. I mean, kudos to those harem artists, but man, it just sounds like a pain in the ass. Just coming up with 100 characters is not easy, unless they're like the other show that only had like clones.
which he absolutely did accomplish, even while doing all that shonen battle nonsense that he actually wanted to do, and he just did a harem so that his editor would let him get away with making a shonen battle. If you read Negima, you will walk away with strong, fond memories of every girl and a personal fave. I guarantee it. There is a reason that even Love Hina haters hold this up as one of the best harems out there. But it does take nearly 400 chapters to pull that off, while 100 Girlfriends has gotten there in half the time. And unlike the virgin Negi, absolute Chad Rentaro has not fumbled any of those 31 bags. Now, some doubters out there might argue that he had an unfair advantage due to the hard magic system of the 100 Girlfriends Hotel Transylvania cinematic universe, which instantly alerts all soulmates the first time they make eye contact with a helpful zing. But that really just gets his
Oh, so it is magic.
foot in the door, which is enough for a hopelessly horny romantic or her mom, but most of the other girls have some
Nice.
kind of hang-up or
A MILF.
self-confidence issue or mental illness like tsundereism that prevents them from immediately leaping at love at first sight. And so, to fulfill his destiny and also save all their lives, because remember, under that magic system, if you don't hook up with your soulmate, you die, Rentaro still needs the raw riz to actually seal 100 deals. Something he only attained by having the raw courage and tenacity.
What? So he got a blessing and a curse at the same time. So his blessing is that women fall in love with him on first sight, and then the curse is if he doesn't hook up with them, he will die. It actually makes me want to watch it, to be honest. I was joking at first. Now I'm actually curious.
To power through 100 rejections and keep believing in love, which already sets him far apart from your average wet blanket harem guy, most of whom, if you put a gun to their head and told them to confess, would instantly pick the bullet. But he's also got something even more essential. The world's
Confession time. I think the nosebleed upon seeing a beautiful girl or naughty scene is outdated, and it's just such an overused trope. I cannot see it anymore. I'm sorry. I hate to be that guy, but I just cannot see it anymore.
biggest heart, big enough to care for and take care of all 100 girls better than most guys treat the one they get if they're lucky.
普通なら吐いてたさけど彼女にあんしてもらったものを吐くなんてこと俺には死んでもできない
Always there to listen to their problems, catch them when they do a clumsy moe pratfall, serve as a guinea pig for their latest experimental drugs, talk about their favorite books with them, provide a shoulder to cry on about the boy who left them tragically widowed at 13 and then also cuck his ghost later, secure and split rare convenience store bread with them, spot them during reps, hold up the mirror they admire themselves in, give them head pats, and above all else,
So he's basically doing the job of a boyfriend, but instead of doing it combined to one girlfriend, he's doing it separately.
defend their honor from anyone who so much as thinks about besmirching it. Kami-sama help any soul he catches talking smack about one of his soul mates. And Kami-sama won't help, because there's a Ghibli movie on. He's busy. I do not buy for one single solitary second that the vast majority of harem protags could pull even one girl and make her happy for a week, let alone half a dozen of them for the rest of their lives. But Rentaro? Rentaro makes me want to believe.
So Rentaro is like the GOAT of the harem animes. While the others take like 500 episodes in order to get a kiss, he's doing it in the first episode, so he's the king of harems. Is that why it's labeled, the video is labeled the haremist of harems?
Anyone who's ever wondered where everything sucked up by charisma vacuums like Kazuya goes, he is the answer. He will teach you what it means to truly love. Because Rentaro is such a king among princes among men, he also prevents the story from taking the most obvious and trite path toward conflict and comedy by making the girls fight over him, which is fine in moderation, but overdone, it quickly becomes the leading cause of failed harem endings. After all, if the girls don't like each other, how are we ever supposed to believe they all got married and lived happily ever after? We do see some of those antics.
Does
in
he
episode
marry
2 when
all
his
of them?
two first girlfriends start competing to be his one first kiss, but right when they're running out of clever tricks and excuses, and also some very not clever ones, and the gag as a whole is running out of steam, Rentaro steps in with a better way. A literal double-blind experiment that should, in theory, allow all of them to enjoy a sort of Schrodinger's first kiss, which works out pretty much exactly like you'd expect three blindfolded idiots fumbling around on a rooftop to work out. But from that point forward, everyone in the harem does their best to communicate and support each other at every step. Hakari and Karane do still bicker from time to time after that, but they're not actually Akane and shampooing anymore. They're Sam and Dianing, which means all they gotta do to resolve the conflict is kiss and make out. Up. Or out. Your choice, girls. Choose love, I always say. Damn, they sure are choosing a lot.
What the hell
the show's
is
got more
happening?
Yuri than most Yuri. But then that is kind of necessary to making the whole premise work, right? If this 100-timing situation's gonna work out long-term as a proper functional polycule, the girls can't just love Rentaro, they've gotta love each other. And considering how lovable they all are,
that's smart.
not that big an ask. I said ask. Hakari with a K. Put that thing away. Okay, maybe leave it out a little longer. Gotta hand it to Nozawa-sensei. That birthmark is a nice touch. Get the uncensored
I want to see it.
cut now on Blu-ray. I mean Patreon. It's not just the endless array of delightful design details that make these girls so lovable and memorable, though. It's the genuine heart that's gone into writing each and every one of them, to making sure they all get proper time in the spotlight when they're first introduced, to demonstrate what they love about Rentaro and why he loves them back. Because there are so many of them, and they all have to be distinct enough to be someone's best girl, each new girlfriend is pushed to increasingly entertaining extremes, starting with clever parodies of the obvious harem archetypes, but quickly moving on to straight up Looney Tunes shit, like an extremely hangry girl with very specific food cravings, or a
You know, as weird as this sounds, this kind of like the explanation of the show kind of reminds me of Dandadan, because Dandadan is basically like a show that took everything from its predecessors and then created its own formula, basically knowing the rules to be able to break them. And it seems like this is the Dandadan of harems, where they know the rules of harems, play with the stereotypes and archetypes of harem characters, but then also knowingly break the rules. I don't know if it's a fair comparison. I don't know. I haven't watched this harem show. I don't even know if I've ever watched a harem show, if I'm being honest with you.
talented violinist who's horny for violence that are sure to stick in your mind from just how
I would
out
probably
there
pick her,
they are. But
not
at
her, the
same
other one, the
time,
mommy.
Each and every one of them is given some grounded human foible, some emotional vulnerability that gives us a sincere connection to them and makes Rentaro's affection for them feel believable. It's not exactly Shakespeare or Kaguya-sama Love is War, but it is enough to make you care.
That touching the hand and blushing scene is something that that is being made fun of in Gintama. If you ever watched Gintama, you should watch it. Because there's one episode where they make fun of these romance animes, where one of the characters falls in love with the glasses that her crush is gifting to her. So she basically treats the glasses like it is her crush. They also have that hand touching scene. it's a little bit. It sounds silly, but it is so funny, man. You gotta watch Gintama.
Feel something for the girl, and then you get a chance to watch her zany personality bounce off every other girl in the ensemble, which is one of the marks of a truly great harem anime. Or rather, when the girls only ever interact with the one guy like he's just jumping between different routes in a dating sim, that's a mark of a very bad one. Like, say there's a harem series with only 5 girls in it, spread across hundreds of chapters. The sort of setup where any remotely curious or competent writer would have put 2 of them alone in a room together without the guy just to see what would happen. And in fact, most of the promotional art for that series is shots of the girls hanging out together with no boys in sight. So you know he knows that's an appealing idea. But now say you go to the Wikipedia page and look at one of those girls' relationship pages, and under the hero's name, there's a whole fucking essay there. But you scroll down a little to all the other characters, and not one of them has more than like half a paragraph, including the girl who was introduced as that first girl's friend, and literally the only reason that she knows the protagonist at all is because that friend introduced them. But somehow they have never, not once, at any point in the entire manga, hung out together, except for in like one chapter of the spin-off manga where all they talked about is how cute they both are. Hypothetically speaking, that right there would be a completely dogshit harem. Now, of course, when you're introducing 31 girlfriends in 200 chapters, that doesn't leave a lot of time to flesh out most of their relationships.
Oh, wow.
But all of them have at least one other girl they're particularly close to and have some real chemistry with, and plenty of entertaining moments with everyone else, plus some genuinely emotional ones. Any true harem connoisseur knows that waifu variety is one of the greatest strengths of this genre. That these shows cast a wide net by giving everyone a fave to root for. But 100 Girlfriends demonstrates better than
Waifu variety. That is the first time I hear a word like that. I'm gonna implement it into my vocabulary. Next time we're gonna play a dating sim, I'm gonna use it. Waifu variety. This game, I'm gonna use it as a criteria. This game does have a lot of waifu variety.
any other anime I've seen, that's not just an additive effect, but a multiplicative exponential one. So long as you actually let them interact with each other, you fucking hack. Sorry. Every genuinely unique and fun waifu that you add to the roster makes every other waifu more entertaining. Like a new card enabling some crazy new synergy in your favorite TCG, suddenly gluing together a new engine or package you didn't realize was there before. Not only does every new girlfriend have a chance to be your new fave, she also has the potential to make an old fave even better, or maybe even give you something new to appreciate about a girlfriend you weren't particularly fond of. Like, personally, I'm not that big a Kusari fan. The mad scientist gags that she enables as a plot device can be really funny, and her all grown up design is super cute, but that design is grossly underutilized. Speaking of gross, the whole I've been working for hours and I just realized I gotta piss, but don't worry about saying go piss girl, cause I brought diapers bit is just very off-putting. And waifus who refer to themselves exclusively in the third person,
I don't know these characters.
Jeff want to smooch a 12 gauge. Though, credit where it's due, 100 Girlfriends even manages to make that funny on occasion.
これなら十分いけるかも。
チュチュ。いや、薬はただの通りすがりの人なのだよ。いや、一人称。
But as the manga's gone on, the diaper things become less of a thing, and every time she meets a girl, she gets a new chance to do something fun with one of her insanely specific concoctions, which, again, can be really funny. Plus, even when she's not using.
So it's more like a sitcom, and every character has like their little quirks and like characteristics, and it's less about like the love part and more about the interactions between the characters. That sounds cool.
Them for human experiments, her zany, outgoing personality lets her push the other girls in a lot of really fun directions, which has made me warm up to her quite a bit over time, even if I do still absolutely hate it every time she talks like that. I better wrap this up fast. Look, harem comedies and anime with harems in them in general are often written off as cheap trash by anime enjoyers, even hardcore weebs. But it's always been one of my personal favorite genres, and not just because I love me some good jiggle physics. The cream of the harem crop.
Oh, damn, it's so sad that I immediately knew what that little video sequence was referring to.
Your ranmas and quintessential quintuplets is where you'll find some of the absolute best character writing and character-driven humor that anime has to offer, and even some pretty solid dramas like Toradora. And the more haremier an anime is, the better that side of the writing has to be for it to stick the landing. Of course, many of the worst anime out there are also pretty dang harem-y, and often the harem being introduced is what makes people realize that the show is bad and drop it in the first place, especially if it's an isekai. Personally, I have experienced that like 3 or 4 times a season for the last 5 years. But it's not that the harem tropes themselves are making the anime bad. The problem is that all the harem dynamics that we've just explored that can bring out the best of really good characters also highlight and amplify all the flaws of really bad ones.
I see it like this, and that goes with every kind of anime trope, not just tropes that you find in harem anime, but just tropes and archetypes that you find in shonen jumps or even in real life shows. It's like you can use all the tropes as the street, but still build beautiful cars that will drive on that street. Or you can make the cars those tropes, which then make the street completely obsolete and boring, and therefore the destination boring. Does that make sense? I hope it does. It made sense in my brain.
The harem is a litmus test that exposes bad writing. So the quest to create the haremist anime without using any massage girl Bs or unnamed elf wife number 3s or other statistical flimflammery is one of the greatest challenges an anime or manga writer can take on. A test of one's ability to craft memorable characters, give them interesting things to do, and balance their roles and interactions so that they all feel equally important and romantically viable, all while keeping the story moving at a steady, satisfying pace. Vikito Nakamura has clearly figured out a formula to help simplify that as much as possible. Introduce a new girlfriend, do a story about some of the other girlfriends helping her with something, then throw in a few chapters of everyone else hanging out to maintain the relevance of anyone who wasn't particularly useful to those stories. But it really can't be understated what a monumental undertaking this really is, or how impressive it is that he's pulled it off for so long.
That was a great video. One thing I love about these anime reviewers, and that goes for Gigak, for example, as well, is that they make me want to try an anime I would have never touched before. I have never touched a pure harem anime in my life, but now I kind of want to watch this one that he just showcased. Same with Orb. The only reason I started watching Orb was because of the Gigak video that I watched. But man, that was a great video. I'll definitely give this a thumbs up, and also try and leave a comment for the algorithm. Please let me know what you thought about this, this review of the harem show, 100 Girlfriends, or whatever the official name is. Do you enjoy harem animes? If so, please let me know in the comment section below. Yeah, appreciate you watching. I hope you're having a great day. See you next time, Jinyo Force. Bye bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss, tschüss, tschüss.